all the big research about what's the most effective therapy shows us this, that effective therapies have these 4 common factors in keeping with each other. First, it's the client and what strengths the client already has internally and what support they already have. Second, it's the quality of the relationship that the therapist and client co-create. That's the second really important aspect. The hope or expectancy, what can we do together? How can we proceed as client and therapist? Clients looking for, can you help me? Many of them are looking to say, can you heal me? Can you fix it? Can you make it all go away and make my life work for me? That's a big remit. But if there's a positive transference, or you can develop some hope between you, that really helps in therapy. And lastly, and not the most significant at all, is the modality, the technique associated with that modality. So the thing that I find really most helpful about the Pesso-Boyden method is that it really does give you a kind of hotline into all of these things. It helps speed this stuff up. So how does Pesso-Boyden help us kind of get into all these things? Well, here we are. We've got a classic PBSP framework for diagnosing the client's strengths and support. In the background, we know that how everybody lives now in the present is informed by 3 categories of memory. So we've got this in the background as a diagnostic framework. How everybody lives in the present is run by memory. But to be able to tease out memory into these 3 categories, I think is a very, very brilliant gift the Pessos gave us. And just to go a bit more deeply into that, it's the same one. Basic needs. Were the client's basic needs met in the formative years? Are there developmental deficits? With your Pesso-Boyden ear, you can hear deficits of place or protection or support or limits or nurture. The trauma layer of memory. Did the client suffer violation of the self in their infancy, or maybe they had a perfectly fine infancy, but then in later life they suffered trauma? Was there trauma? That's going to affect the strengths and support the client brings. And then intergenerational systemic issues. Did the client as a child satisfy the needs of another person? Did they try to heal injustice in the world? Many of your clients will come to mind when you think about that. In Pesso land, we call this filling holes in roles, the whole intergenerational piece, the systemic idea that things are handed down in an unspoken way in the family system. And we as very young children become aware of this, and our energy goes out to that. One of my, this phrase came from one of my clients, compelled to care. That's a very powerful phrase in English, compelled to care. He was saying, because of my history, I have got no choice. I'm compelled to care. And that's one of the things he's working on. How PBSP helps those people who are compelled to care, just to give you an example of one of those things I just showed you. One of my clients wrote this to me when I asked her, how's a structure different from other things you've experienced? So you've probably read it by now, but I'm going to read it again. A structure is like nothing I've experienced before. I've been in a lot of support groups and therapeutic environments, but they usually go in a different direction. Yeah, I feel that way too. Kind of, that's a bit dismissive in the way she tells it. Have you tried? And the have you tried tends to put the sufferer in a one down position. Oh, that happened to me as well. Let's forget about you. Let's come to me. And that's my client's group experience. She says there's nothing wrong with it, but her structure's entirely focused on me as the client for that hour. This means I can stay or try to stay with the process without jumping out of it by needing to say, oh, I'm so sorry you had that happen to you, or needing to comfort the other person. It's a very clear process in terms of who does what. Now, obviously, that experience is good for anyone, but for the people who are compelled to care, like Jenny, it's absolutely necessary for their healing to have a different kind of support environment. So still on how do you diagnose client strengths and support, I'm just showing you this briefly, but that already gives us another framework. Where is this client? You know, if Maori is sitting in front of me and he's said only what he said, I had to learn to protect myself. I know this is a client who's no longer a child, he's a grown up, he's mature. I can use this as an assessment tool, an internal gauge. Hey, this guy's got a lot of consciousness. He's worked on himself. He's expanded. He can talk about his basic needs. He's used his pilot to do the fifth one, develop his uniqueness and potentiality. So this particular framework, again, is used every day by PESO therapists. Let's look at the therapeutic alliance, as we call it in PESO therapy. That's the quality of the relationship co-created by the therapist and the client. This isn't an exhaustive list, but the PBSP approach has all these and more. We have a clear contract, the possibility sphere, which is what you can bring. All of your needs are welcome here. That's the quality of the space created between the therapist and the client. Micro-tracking is the attunement to the client in which the client feels both seen, because we're naming their affect and we see what they're feeling, and they feel heard because they hear, you really did hear what I said. I recognize those words. They're mine. Externalizing and the therapist's following. Accommodation is the right touch applied by the role figures. And the use of the symbolic mind that human beings are blessed with, our imagination and our capacity to symbolize and play, all leading to the click of closure. It feels complete. It feels good. That point that expectancy and hope between therapist and client adds to the efficacy of the therapy. I think PESO Boyden work really helps with this, because the basis of the therapy is that hope is innate. we know that our genetic expectation is for pleasure, satisfaction, and meaningful connection. And that healing processes and hope are rooted in the body. But I think the thing that really gives hope is that the child's basic needs can still be met at a symbolic level in childhood. If we were doing a structure and that was in the middle of a structure, we would be using the framework that you've seen before in a very practical and physical way. What we'd be working with, what's happening in your body, what does it want, what does that energy want to do, with whom, and then we'd make sure with the right accommodation that it fits, and we'd say you have the right to do this. The ideal parents bless it, and the client takes that in. So let's just conclude in a way. I think I just wanted to show you that because Pesso Boyden, it's a system, Pesso Boyden system psychomotor, the frames of the different aspects of the system, I'm gesturing like this because they're always in my firmament when I'm working with a client, whether it's Pesso work or not. And I've tried to show you how many of those link to the things that make for effective therapy.